What's up, y'all? What's going on? This is your boy C Will, and here I am with the album of all albums. Oh my God, everything is falling apart. And it should. You know why? Because it's the circumstance sometime in the top life. So, now here's a little something you need to know. You see, every time I do an album, the date on the album I have to really look at and then go back in time and remember because I put some of my work is put out a year later than when I finish. You understand? Because it takes about another whatever that takes for me to do the graphics, to deal with the all the other stuff. Meanwhile, I'm trying to book my shows. I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and all of this other stuff. So a lot of times the date, and I'm looking at this date for Frustrated. And Frustrated is 2006. All right? It's 2006. But like I just told you before, if you take a look at the other CD that I just had, which was Reality, you'll see that I said 2005. But in reality, Reality was done 2004, and I put it out, I think, the beginning of the new year. And it's the same with this. This is 2006, so there's a whole nother year. And don't forget, with Reality, I didn't really do too much. That summer of 2005, I did a couple of spot dates, I did a couple of festivals, and that was pretty much it. And it paid well, of course, because I make sure, top life is living, loving, and laughing, and the cash flow too. So, with that said, New Vibe Music is in the house and is about to be really established. But I need to tell you about this. If you think I told you some stuff in reality, wait till you hear the story about Frustrated. Frustrated is going to have your hair standing. I'm going to have you in the camera like, oh my God, or on your screen like, oh my God, I can't believe what he's saying. Because this has some adventure, excitement, drama, ups, downs, craziness, all right? Now, picture this. I'm at a studio in Manhattan because this is before I started getting, I already had my music programs and my computer and everything, and I was just starting to get into the thing when there was only Pro Tools. Okay, and Logic just came along and was doing this thing. So imagine that I'm pretty much, doing some little programming, but basically I'm going to get my big sound from the studio, when I go to the studio to be able to listen and also mix and master, which of course I'm on all of my sessions for that. And just to let you know, for Storyteller, I was totally in with Storyteller through the whole entire thing, even the mixing and mastering. Same thing with Open Doors, and I co-mixed and mastered on that. Reality, I mixed and mastered all on my own, myself. Okay, that would be the first CD that I did that. And then frustrated, I co-mixed and mastered as well. I was in the studio the whole time. So I'm just gonna say that it's a studio downtown. I'm not gonna mention any names again, but you know that there's only two music buildings, I'll say, in Manhattan. Two fully facilitated music buildings in the island of Manhattan. So I could only be at one of those two doing this album. And I was at one of their major studios doing it. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm just going to also say that the engineer was cool, I guess. But there was a lot of jealousy. And there was also something else going on. I was on a tour with a major artist who was also shysting with money. Matter of fact, that artist owed me $25,000. And I had just had my website done, redone. And the guy who did my website was also a scam artist, and he was trying to dog me too. So I was dealing with about 4 situations now. Out of all of these situations, because I wasn't getting my money for the major tour that I was out with a major rock legend who I will not dispose of the name. But this person themselves, the artists themselves, was shysting me with my money. And like I said, I was owed 25 grand, of which I had to fight for. And I did go to court. And I did win. But it wasn't the full amount. So this ended myself and my company in court in New York because I couldn't pay rent. The finances weren't coming in right. That's right. We were in court 3 times for rent. All right, now, you gotta understand something. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. First, I was still on this tour, even though we were doing spot dates, and it was the summertime, so I was kind of like in and out of it. And then we would really pick back up in the fall, and things would start to maneuver back again. But at this meantime, I'm home. You know what I'm saying? And I'm really trying to get frustrated, which didn't have a title yet. It didn't have the album title yet. Remember what I told you? A lot of times I formulate the title after. Sometimes the title comes to me right away. And in this case, I formed the title afterwards. So here I was, in the middle of the summer, waiting for mine. Now it was like 15 grand that they owed me, and it was just jerking me around. And the other thing was, it was the last tour I would do without a contract. Don't do that. It's paperwork all the way down. You want me to play for you? That's paperwork. Straight up. I'm not, I'm straight business now. I ain't dealing with nothing else. Hey, that's not even a conversation. So anyway, I was doing what I had to do. I was hustling as a drummer and doing what I had to do. I was offered a certain amount, and it was really good. But when I got out there, it was just tagging along, doing what they wanted to do. So that's what happened. Now, in the studio, meantime, every time I went there, stuff would happen. Like in my tracks, certain music was missing, certain vibes were missing. I didn't hear certain things, and I was just like, what is going on? This dude really can't stand me. This guy's trying to sabotage me every time I come in the studio. But I had a good team of musicians, and we were just hashing out, getting the album done. Of course, I had some problems with the musicians too. I ain't gonna lie to you. I told you, I'm raw now. You just nothing I can do about that. I'm just gonna tell the truth. I'm not gonna mention any names, but they know who they are. Just trying to stop the show, just trying to bug out. And but it didn't work anyway, because in the end, this would be the album that would break through major radio, and it would also put me on another level. And those relationships, once you hit that, the only thing that could dog that out is the artists themselves. You know what I mean? Still got really good relationships and everything. But at the time, it was rough. Let's get into that in a second. But I just want to show you this is the cover by default. This was not the real cover of Frustrated. And Frustrated didn't get its title until I was told that I would not get the full amount of money, that I would just get this amount. I think I settled out for 11,000 out of 25 or 12,000. It was between 11 and 13, and I got it. It was crazy. Basically, the year was coming to an end, okay, in 2005. And this tour was about to also come to an end. And it was going to come to a nasty end. Because this artist decided to tell me in front of their other musicians how much they were going to pay me for a film, a documentary that they was about to do. And I actually had to call my lawyer at the time, who I picked from LA. He's the lawyer that helped out Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Prince. He also did Michael Jackson's nephews. He's an African American brother. And I just, I reached out to him. He said, you know what, see, stay on the tour. I know what you're going through, but make sure you finish it. Like, don't quit. I know they're putting you through it, but they see the real with you. So they know what's going on. They're just trying to play, but they know that you're the real deal. And that's why all of this stuff is trying to happen to you. I mean, because in the tour, there was another musician who was just trying to get me off of it. So, it's just, I was getting hit from every avenue. I was getting hit from all the avenues, Meanwhile, I was still dealing with this, still dealing with Frustrated. I had given it the title then, and I said, okay, when I come back home, November, the end of November, the season for the holidays in the States, I'm going to really buckle down on finishing this and wrapping it up. So, of course, when I get to the studio, after all of that nonsense, the tour was over. And I think I reached in New York in December. And I went to the studio, and they was like, okay, check this out. Here's how it's going down. Check this out now. I want you to listen to this about Frustrated. Some stuff you never knew. You want your CD out? Then this is what I'm charging you. Means the original agreement with the studio. Because back then, you didn't do a contract with the studio. You shook a hand and said, hey, I'm $30 an hour, I'm $40 an hour, I'm $60 an hour, I'm $100 an hour. They said, no, it's not, 40 or whatever. It's this amount. And I was like, I don't have that. Man, I just got my money. I had to pay back rent, help out to pay back rent. It was a total mess. You understand? So now, even after I gave them the money so I could get the copy of the master, or the master on floppy disk, they turned around and misplaced the master as I was doing the graphics. And I think all of this stuff happening at one time, and then Christmas coming, the other major holidays, which was Christmas and New Year's Eve, it just completely bogged out my mind so much. I almost lost track of different things I was dealing with. The album, and I misplaced the original album cover. When the company called us to go to print, we didn't have them. So I actually got somebody inside of my company to write out the album cover, and they did. They're credited and everything on the CD. And they just sent this, and at this time they were in Canada. They just sent a copy in email. It's me looking freaking frustrated with the Maywe logo on my head, as you can see on my hat, because I have a hat that has Maywe on it. I was done. I was done. So like I was trying to come into the new year with like very positive energy, because I believe you got bring in a physical new year, like feeling good. Don't come into that new year jacked up, because you're about to make the whole year like that. Or you're gonna be fighting, you know. So I basically placed the order with. This is my first experience with disc makers. Well, actually, it would be my second. Disc makers is just very professional. I even said them here. I ain't trying to endorse them, but they're on point for right now, for whatever they do. I believe I had frustrated back within a week. It was something crazy, like a week before Christmas on 2005. You know, so I had already printed on it. 2006, as you see when you uh, when you see the credits, as you purchase the album or whatever, you see the credits, and it was just that was just nuts, man. Like I just made it. Okay, first of all, I just made it. So the holiday came in, and we had our little celebration in New York. So the fireworks did whatever, and um, I can just remember January came, and it was the NAMM show. Now I don't know how many of you know famous musicians. As you're, looking at my different documentaries, I'm trying to give everybody their credits that's in my life during a time of any kind of album. But at this time, we had an organization in New York called the Black Rock Coalition, and I had just met, um, before a long time before this, I had just met a guy named Reese, who I played for. He's an independent artist. He was a rocker vibe. We was always doing funk rock, reggae rock, soul, R&B, and just vibing on the rock edge vibe. And in that band is a group of guys, dope. Michael Barnes on guitar, and also Shindig on bass. All of them, those two guys, they've done a lot of stuff in the music business for sure, and great bunch of guys, great family of us, and basically Michael Barnes was playing for T.M. Stevens, so T.M. Stevens asked me to come out and play for him. But remember, this wasn't released physically yet. Um, I was still putting it on my website and everything like that. I hadn't done like a real release yet. So the NAMM show is in January, and it's out in California. So I was going to be invited by TM to play for him at the NAMM show. Mike put me in on that. Big ups to Mike and Michael Barnes. And I came out to play for TM Stevens. Now, TM Stevens is a bass player who is a rock bass player for his own stuff. I don't quote me on how many albums he's done, but I know it's more than five. That much I know, or five, or something like this around this area. It could be more. I might be blown away by how many more, meaning of his own. But he toured mostly in Europe. And the other thing about him was that he's played for everybody, man. He's played for James Brown, Miles Davis, Stevie Wonder. Like he's played for a lot of people, man. This guy is a top notch bass player. Get any of his albums and you'll see what I'm talking about. Bad Cat. So he asked me to play. I was honored to play drums for him in his situation. I had to learn the stuff. But he was representing some kind of audio company of some sort, like microphones or something. And, something, I think, for his bass. But we was in this booth. And I got a phone call at my hotel room because we're frustrated. What I did that I'd never tried before was I did a set of press. Like normally, I would go to press, but I did a set of press. So I did like 20 CDs on 20 magazines because again, we wasn't online yet with press. Press was just getting online. So I just sent the CDs out in mail and I waited, like a month. And in January at the NAMM show, I got this phone call. And it was this guy named Anthony Richards. Let me tell you about that.